been a minute.
It has been.
I had a beard last time we did this.
Yeah.
I had,
Well, you have one
a
again,
full
but-
beard. I got rid of it and grew it back in time.
And I did not see. I only saw a picture of the clean
I
shaven
know, right?
face, right? You know? Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
And I'm Noah.
And it was a little over 2 months ago that we sat down to do this before. Now, I want to start this video by saying we've seen some of your comments. We're grateful. We appreciate it. We really do. Understand this has always been a hobby channel for us. We're not trying to make a living doing this. And life just got in the way. So
A lot.
we sat down to start recording the topic we're going to talk about tonight, and it was timely and it was fresh because the movie was in the theater.
It had just come out.
We had been planning for months to actually do something really relevant. And we sat down and I said, hey, welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard. And he said,
I'm Noah.
and the phone rang. And the phone rang, and it was Mama Peaches.
Yeah.
And Mama Peaches had our dog at the vet. And to make a long story short, we put the dog down that night. And it was a case of I had to stop what I was doing, get up, drive 35 minutes, meet her at the emergency vet clinic, and make the horrendously painful decision to put this dog down. And we loved this dog dearly. She was great. And it was a surprise. It was a shock. It was a tough night. And then life intervened. She got jobs and work, and I was on set quite a bit. Hint, you know, it was legitimate fun work. And
Yes.
and now here we are. So unfortunately, a little bit of late, but we're doing.
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which we tried to make timely, but I don't think it ultimately mattered because I think only about 3 people saw this film.
Did it do poorly?
A lot of movies have done poorly at the box office this year.
I've noticed that.
And that's a whole conversation we should probably have in the future about what's going on. There's multiple reasons, I think, but this was a good movie. Spoilers ahead. I enjoyed this movie. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, starring Henry Cavill, Isa Gonzalez, Alan Richson,
Alex Pettyfer.
Till Schweiger.
And here's one for you. And I practiced this. Babs Olasunmokun. And I'm sure that I didn't get that right. No disrespect intended, but wow, there's a lot of vowels and syllables in that word.
So, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is a Guy Ritchie film based on a true story.
So that is the thing that was so cool about this for me. I made it into this movie without knowing anything about it. I have become very good at just like,
Nothing.
no news coming on my phone or my video feeds.
You have fed the algorithm correctly.
That is right. And if I see something, I just swipe it off the screen. So I walked into this movie and I'm watching this movie and I'm like, you know, this is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I get to the end of the movie. Now they're supposed to go blow up a boat,
Spoilers.
right? Well, you said spoilers.
I did. Yeah.
They're supposed to blow up a boat.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking this is going to be your typical Hollywood fare where, you know, the good guy gets the girl and they go and they blow up the boat and it's a big spectacular ending and all the guys die and the whole bit. It isn't.
No, it is not.
It is the most
Honest.
anticlimactic climax of a movie you could hope for.
While still being not only entertaining, but interesting.
Right? And so you see this slow motion escape
Yeah.
because they decide, well, we can't blow up the boat. We'll steal it.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of the movie, and if you're like me, you're in the theater, you know nothing about it, you haven't read the book, you don't know the history of it, and you see on screen that this is based on a true story. Now, here was my thought.
Yeah.
My thought was, only the Brits.
Only the Brits. Those
But it's...
sneaky little
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But the you know, you get this image in probably improperly so of these, you know, tightly wound, stiff upper lipped, very proper people. And
Yeah.
here they go and they steal a freaking boat. And they steal it away. And
Bye.
And I just thought, this is absolutely incredible. And in that moment, a mediocre film became extraordinary.
Right? So
That was it.
So now that we've gotten a little bit of like the ending and like we liked about this movie out of the way, let's recap just a little bit in case you should really go watch the movie because it is fantastic. It's got a little bit of that Guy Ritchie flair that he's known for, only for the first half though, which is weird, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So it follows essentially what is the first ever official Black Ops mission.
Yes.
And it's during World War II. And Henry Cavill is playing Gus March. Is it Philippe?
Yes.
Is it Philip? Yeah, Gus March.
So I would say Philippe, but
Anyway, he's playing essentially the Phillips. Yes,
Phillips. Gus March Phillips.
Gus March Phillips, the guy that I don't know why I said Philippe. I'm British, not French.
I thought there was an E.
They're not French. Anyway, the French couldn't come up with a plan like this.
Oh,
So, he's playing the guy that Ian Fleming based James Bond off of. Right. A real dude.
Right.
And the story overall is it's fictionalized. It's sensationalized a little bit. But, I mean, the mission was real. And it delved into World War II British covert ops. It's incredible. Honestly, I think I want to take and like go through, because I recently rewatched The King's Speech, and I watched the great movie.
The King's Speech.
We'll have to talk about that.
Movie.
But I also rewatched The Imitation Game. And because they're so close together but have nothing to do with each other, and they're both British, now I want like this British World War II timeline of movies. I want to go through like all these movies in the order that they generally would have taken place, because it blended really well. I literally watched them back to back, and it blended really well. Completely separate movies. However, I'm off track. ADD is really strong in this video. Henry Cavill is playing a war criminal who is tasked by Churchill to put together a Black Ops group of war criminals and other miscreants to go run a mission that is essentially a suicide mission. Yes. And they have no backing. Even the British government isn't aware that this is going on. And they could be arrested at any time by literally anyone. No one is their ally.
Right.
And they're working with agents already planted inside a base where a supply ship that fills U-boats is stationed, and it's refills and resupplies the Atlantic U-boat fleet.
Right.
So if they take this out, they cripple the Atlantic U-boat fleet, which was a critical issue
because the boats were incredibly successful. And weren't they called wolf packs?
Yeah. So they go into this
Ghost submarine fleet,
right? They essentially, the first half of the movie, they spend getting another dude out of prison, and that's where it feels out of a German like fort.
Yes.
And that's where I felt the most Guy Ritchie, is the opening scene on the boat where it's just Henry Cavill and Alan Richardson. I don't know the character names. Anders Lasse. Right. He's a Swede.
Right.
Dude's got range, actually. Like, I've only really seen him in, it's not like super big range, but I've also seen him play like an effeminate jock in Blue Mountain State. If you haven't seen that, the clips are kind of funny, but he's got variety, I can say at least. But he's still very much the big dude.
He wasn't Reacher.
No, he wasn't Reacher. Very clearly he wasn't Reacher, which is what I think most people associate him with nowadays.
Yeah, probably. It's probably what he's most well known for. I think my only criticism of the performance, this may be fair, this may be unfair, I don't know. The accent.
It's a little tried. It was a little overboard on the accent. I think
but if that's my biggest complaint.
If that's my biggest complaint about the performance, whatever. The opening scene on the boat.
I couldn't do better. Let me put it this way. Even with a dialect coach, I couldn't do better.
They opening scene great. Sure, Guy Ritchie felt bombastic and silly, but had some tension and it was fun. And then storming the German fortress to free the other dude was, again, silly, bombastic fun. And that's what I thought this movie was going to be throughout the whole thing. That's what I was expecting. The trailers made it seem like it was going to be goofy and zany and have a little dark edge to it. And when they stormed the German fortress, I mean, casually just decimating.
Right.
Not super realistic, but I mean, it was fun. Henry Cavill is just holding a Lewis machine gun going, yeah, it was fun. And
there was a Tarantino bloodlust.
Yeah. And it was fantasy. It was very fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what the movie was going to be. And then in the second half, it slows to a spy.
It becomes a cat and mouse game.
It becomes a cat and mouse game. And then the main characters whose names are selling the movie aren't present for a lot of the second half of the movie because it's focusing on Isa,
everybody
Gonzalez, and her cat and mouse game with the German lieutenant or the German brigadier. The German brigadier,
right,
and trying to get the necessary information back to the team. And as you were pointing out in the beginning, they learn that they aren't going to be able to blow up the ship that they're sent to blow up. So they need to either abandon the mission or come up with an alternative, and they do.
And the alternative is just
it's just steal it. It's just a hijack.
Take it away. So the one thing I didn't pick up in this movie, and you mentioned it, that Henry Cavill's character was a war criminal.
I believe they set that up.
He was in prison, but was he like crimes against humanity war criminal? I would really like to find out.
I believe that's what they said.
Historically, what did he do?
Let's see. Gus March Phillips.
Yeah, you might as well look it up and let's find out because it would be,
we're going to find this out.
What better to, who better to release an enemy?
If he actually was
right
imprisoned for stuff. By the way, this operation was called Operation Postmaster.
Yes.
If you are curious to look up the actual,
the first of many, and so Churchill had a special operations executive that he established in 1940.
Yes.
And that all of this became known to the public around 2015-ish when the documents were declassified by the British governor.
Oh, yeah.
And they were released.
Same with I'm not finding anything right now, so I'm not going to bother with it that much. But same with the Imitation Game, the operation.
Yes.
That to decode the Project Enigma.
Yes.
And that wasn't declassified till 2013.
So I have not
there's a long
that's the entire movie, but I have seen bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
And I'm horrified by that true story. Not that we had someone smart enough to decode all that stuff, but what was done to that man. Just horrific.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, I understand. It's not fair to judge history by today's standards.
Yeah.
You judge history by the standards of its time and how people did that. Having said that, it was still horrific.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And so, but anyway, we can do the Imitation Game for another time. I like the idea of putting all of these movies in historical order.
Isn't it kind of fun? And now this is another one to add to it. Just see if you can get a timeline, because the Brits were crafty, and I think that's one of the things you took away from this is just how cunning they are.
Oh, they are.
They just are. It's so the dichotomy between how England operates and how America operates.
We make, thanks to The Simpsons, so many jokes at the expense of the French.
Yeah.
Okay. Ever since the cheese eating surrender monkey line.
Yeah.
And we even dropped one earlier in the movie. However, I think we said this in another discussion. We wouldn't be a nation without the French.
Yeah.
They're not
And they wouldn't be a nation without us, but who's counting? Sorry, I can't help it.
But you know, I
Hold on for a second. America didn't win the war, but without America, you wouldn't have won the war. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, keep going.
we suffer from the arrogance of the T-shirt that I used to sell in the store.
Yeah.
Statue of Liberty with an F-16, and it says back-to-back World War II. Yes, right. Okay. We suffer from the arrogance of that.
Yes.
But we weren't the only ones. They were allied forces.
It was the allies.
And so because we see here in the United States, in schools, the history is so one-sided.
Yes.
That when I am introduced to stuff like this, it's just delightful.
It's amazing.
It is.
The
wonderful.
Counterintelligence campaign that was run on the Germans, in part by these people, Postmaster was one of those, and the deception campaign that led up to D-Day was incredible. And this is just more proof of that.
Yes.
I think that's my biggest takeaway, because as you said earlier, the climax of this movie is kind of anticlimactic. They literally, no one dies. Right. They go in, they, take the ship, and then they leave. That's pretty much it.
And those ships don't move quickly.
And they don't. There's not a lot of opposition. They pretty handily take care of the German garrison.
Yes, they do.
That is stationed there. They trick them. They have their work prepped. They deceive everyone. They take advantage of the situation. They get out.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
And then you see at the end, it's like based on a true story, and you're like, that changes the whole dynamic of this film.
The whole movie changes.
The whole movie changes when you see that it's based off a true story.
So now, here is my takeaway from the film, because after I saw that, I sat back in my chair and I said, wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Sneaky little.
Yeah.
Here's my very next thought. I want to see more movies based on those declassified documents.
Right.
I want to see episodes of what happened.
Right.
I want to see more of this history, and I want to see more of this history not sensationalized by Hollywood.
Yes.
Let's not make it big, ridiculous explosions and
But this actually had the perfect balance. It had just enough of a little bit of a lighthearted, dark action edge to keep you interested in the first half, and then the second half, it kept it a little bit. I mean, he's casually walking around. He stole an SS uniform.
Yes.
He's wearing it.
Yes.
Big bushy beard.
Yes.
And he just walks up, g'day.
Right.
Shit at someone. Sorry. It's up in the morning. He's just casually going through, but it didn't deter from the suspense of the heist. That was taking place. So I think Guy Ritchie did a good job balancing that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Most of
balancing that.
So this is a yes, if you haven't seen it, you want to go see it. Sorry we spoiled so much, but oh my goodness, is this a fun movie to see?
Yes, absolutely. Highly recommend.
And very definitely highly recommend.
And barely touched on the on Isa Gonzalez Marjorie's storyline, which is their their agent working in the base.
Yes.
But it's a good movie. It's a good movie, and I'm disappointed that it didn't do better. I think I understand why it didn't do better, but I'm kind of disappointed because it's got solid acting from everyone all around. I have no major complaints about the performances in this movie. The accent was a little over the top in Richson's case, and it was a good fictionalized account of a real story.
It's good historical fiction.
Fleming even shows up, I think.
Yeah, Fleming does. He's a
character in this. So Ian Fleming, the author of James Bond, is a character in this movie.
And then, of course, you I don't know if this comes up on your feed, but in my Instagram feeds recently, there has been a lot of interviews with Christopher Lee, Dooku.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A first cousin of Fleming.
And badass in his own right. If you haven't heard his own,
Badass.
his own right.
Whole thing about telling the director of the
Lord of the Rings.
what a human body sounds like
When they stabbed. Yeah.
so casual about it. He's like,
Yeah.
I am learning more and more recently about the World War II stories of famous actors that we know.
Yeah.
Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought Donald Pleasance? So when you see him, his physical appearance and his performances and the struggles he had on The Great Escape.
Yeah.
Because the director didn't want to deal with him bringing real life war situations into, suggestions, all of that stuff. I have just a profound respect for these people.
Yeah.
And in the hope that we can avoid this in our future, because anyway, go see this movie.
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Movies
Fantastic.
have to be supported.
Yes.
Hollywood will not make these if we don't support them. So even if we're not
right
in
there.
the theaters watching it, then we've got to rent it. We've got to borrow it. We've got to view it. We've got to buy it. Let them know that we want more of this.
Yes, absolutely. It is a fantastic movie. It's well directed. It's well cast. It's well acted. It's a good movie. Please go watch it. We give it a high recommendation.
Oh, high recommendation. If you've seen it, what do you think of it? Leave your comments down below, please. We would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Come back. Leave your comments down below, please. Either way, leave your comments down below.
And hit that subscribe button while you're down there. You might as well. It's also down there.
And we will see you next time on Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
Bye-bye.